Welcome to a little web extra conversation. I want to talk about outdoor safety. We're going to start with heat, and we'll maybe talk a little bit about lightning here in just a quick moment. I want to bring in one of the great experts on these topics right here, a gentleman named Dr. Kevin Kloesel from Oklahoma University, and we've become friends over the internet here, and I think it's because we have this common interest in, of all things, marching band and drum corps. Good to see you, Dr. Kevin.
It's great to be here, Spencer. Thanks for the invitation.
Hey, so talking a little bit about heat, you and I kind of came together over this drum corps thing that we both enjoy, and marching band and whatnot. We're in the middle of summer already. What's been going on with, in particular, Drum Corps International and your concern with trying to keep people healthy and well, these young people touring the country? What have you been working on with Drum Corps International this year?
Well, thanks again for the invitation. This goes back to several years ago when we had several students from the University of Oklahoma who were in the marching band at OU, and they were in the activity Drum Corps International during the summer, and they would come back to my classes in the fall and tell me all about the close calls they had with heat, with lightning, with storms. And at that point, we felt like we needed to get involved a little bit with a little weather safety education. Dan Atchison, who is the DCI CEO, came to Norman, Oklahoma for a course on severe weather safety. And from that point on, they have become the preeminent outdoor activity as it pertains to weather safety. They have done a phenomenal job putting in plans, proactive plans, all for the health and well-being of the students, again, of which some of those are ours, right? They're University of Oklahoma students that are involved in this activity. So it is great to see that the DCI folks are taking care of our students every bit the same way we would on our campus.
And that's part of what you do too, obviously. Now, you work specifically for Oklahoma University, sporting events, outdoor events, football games. We can talk about the Big 12 thing here in just a second, seeing we got some WVU fans out here. But in terms of looking at the safety push and wellness, you're talking about Drum Corps International taking this. They're outdoors all day practicing, and then they have a show. But this can be applied really to just about anything: football, soccer, lacrosse, you name it, correct?
Across the board. And in fact, the NCAA has made a decision with respect to Division I soccer that they will be using heat metrics, wet bulb globe temperature, in fact, which is kind of the state-of-the-art heat metric out there, to instill mandatory water breaks if certain thresholds are met, both in the first and second half of games. That season starts here in the next couple of weeks. And so it is great to see the larger governing bodies for sports starting to become more aware of weather safety. And again, health and wellness of the athletes is at the forefront here.
And, you know, I think about, back in high school, you got to be tough. You got to push through it. You got to get used to it. You got to acclimate to the heat. I think we've kind of learned, and science has helped, and obviously you're well more into the science than I am, but just the few things that I've read, there really isn't an advantage to acclimating to heat, and it may not even really be a thing. Is that correct?
I think so. And unfortunately, when we get into that, you're not hurt, get up, rub dirt on it, you don't need water, etc., that gets people killed. And unfortunately, we've had that happen both in pro football and college football recently, in high school football, and in the marching arts. So we're seeing more and more activities that are taking place outside. And these are things we go to for fun, right? These are things that people participate for, their joy. And to have that end in tragedy like a death, we just can't have that.
Talk to me a little bit about the difference, though. You're talking about the wet bulb globe temperature. And I have to admit, I'm more of a heat index person, and I actually started studying this, and I thought, oh, that is interesting. And then we started seeing your little device here that uses to measure that. Walk people through what DCI's been doing with that in specific this year.
Sure. One of the drawbacks with heat index is it only takes into account two things: temperature, moisture, and to make matters worse, it's measured in the shade. Wet bulb globe temperature is measured with a device exposed to sunshine. So you get the radiative component, you get the wind component, plus the temperature and the humidity. And what we really see is that it's sunshine and a lack of wind on those hot and humid days that really is what is causing heat illness. So wet bulb globe becomes a much better metric for safety than heat index.
And that's used in the military, and it's kind of a stoplight system, is that right? Green, yellow, red?
Absolutely. It's a stoplight system. It goes all the way back. Not only the military, but marathons are using it. And now finally
Good.
the NCAA and Drum Corps International.
Yeah, that's good. I can remember like a Chicago marathon that literally had to stop, I believe, once because of the heat. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes. And that was a wet bulb globe temperature metric that made that helped make that decision.
Yeah, so we need to kind of educate ourselves about that. I think, from my side of the equation here, I think TV people need to use this maybe a little bit more. Might be a little bit more accurate from the things that you're talking about in terms of how it applies to people.
Bless you. The problem with the metric is not going to give you a number that's triple digit, right?
Right.
People pay attention to heat index because typically you're not talking about heat index until you're over 100. And that's great and all, but honestly, if you look at the temperature on the days when we have heat fatalities, the average temperature on a heat fatality day is 90 Fahrenheit. Not 100, not triple digit, 90.
Wow.
And so wet bulb globe is more tuned to that value, right? 88, 89, 90, and that sort of that range of risk. And so it's going to take some education for people to begin using wet bulb globe simply because you're not seeing a number that's huge, right? It's not 100, not 110, and those kinds of things. And sometimes it's easier to get action when people see that 110 sitting there and think, oh, well, now it's hot, so I have to do something.
Yeah, okay.
So it's going to take some education.
Count me in on that. I'll try and see if I can push a little bit on that. Also, in sports, and I was out at the Drum Corps International Show, Drums Across the Tri-State. I had my little infrared gun, and I'm measuring the temperature of the turf. I think a lot of people might be surprised to learn, 160 is not uncommon. How does DCI deal with that? And then what is your prescription when you say maybe you talk to the football team in Oklahoma? What's being done about those types of things? Is there anything that you can do other than just kind of wait till it's a little bit cooler?
Yeah, I think you have to wait till it's a little bit cooler, or you can wet down the field.
Oh.
What we find out is if you put a little water on the field and that starts to evaporate, you can actually cool that skin temperature of that field turf surface pretty quickly. So there are things that you can do rather than just waiting it out. There are some proactive activities that you can do. For example, wetting the field down.
All right, so let's talk here then briefly about lightning, because obviously we're into that portion of the year now and getting close to fall football. Obviously, you and I would have a concern because we don't want somebody with a flag, the metal pole, holding a tuba, a trumpet, which are metal instruments. From our standpoint, being band fans and Drum Corps International fans, we don't want people with lightning, anywhere near lightning. But that applies to, Major League Baseball, football games or whatnot. What's the kind of the state of the art in terms of, how many miles away and what do we have to be looking for just as the referees or the people in the press box trying to make these decisions?
Right, and I think it's more about minutes, not miles, because usually what you're talking about, it's pretty easy to evacuate a team off of a field. They can go right into the clubhouse or the locker room. That doesn't take but maybe 30 seconds to a minute. If you've ever watched a game at halftime, those teams run in and 30 seconds later they're in shelter. So it's more about the fans that we struggle with. And that's why I say minutes, not miles. If you know how long it takes to evacuate your stadium, and you know how fast the storms are moving, then you can make that determination of how long it takes you. If it takes you 20 minutes and the storms are 21 minutes out, then you better start that evacuation right there, regardless of whether the storm is 10 miles out, 15 miles out. It's more about the speed of the storm and how long it takes to evacuate. And
then a lot of these places, let's go with like a high school football game or even a Saturday afternoon marching band contest, let's say, or a soccer game on a Saturday. You probably don't have a meteorologist on site, but you have a referee who maybe has an app. A lot of these rules are just across the board. If I can see the flash, no. If it's 30 minutes after I see the last flash, that could be, 70 miles away. Literally, it could be if you're looking at the top of a cloud. Are there any other guidelines that maybe high school entities are trying to work on, college entities are trying to kind of make this across the board so that it's safer for more people?
It's pretty simple. The professional meteorology community out there is available to help. And there are meteorologists like you and I everywhere that are available to help. And so I would highly recommend, people think it's too expensive or whatever the case may be. That's just not true. You can enlist the help of a meteorologist for an event, for a soccer tournament, whatever it is. And I guarantee you it's a whole lot cheaper than one wrongful death suit. If you are out there and you're dealing with a lightning situation and you're not abiding by safe protocols and trying to be your own meteorologist, that's not going to go well for you in a court of law.
Yeah.
So it's a lot safer to have a meteorologist that you can go to. There's a robust private meteorology community out there that's available to help, and I would solicit somebody from that group.
And looking at football season coming up, so you're with OU, and of course we have WVU here. What is the conference? Is it the conference rule, or is it your rule if you're the meteorologist in the box? How does that work at a football game, let's say, this fall?
Well, in a football game in the Big 12, it's the TV rules, right? Because pretty much whatever guides the camera crews and the TV networks, that's sometimes what we have to abide by. Now, we don't necessarily like that, and we're trying to get that changed so that we're all on the same page. We are working with the conference office right now, many of the member institutions, to implement some changes that we think will be safer for fans, for camera crews, for athletes, et cetera. But we've still got a ways to go on that.
All right, well, I can tell everybody out there, your conversations and mine, and we text each other all the time. The last thing we'd ever want to do is see an event get canceled. And, you know, we root for the event to go on, right? So we're not up there going, we're going to try and pause this event. We want the event to go on, but the bottom line is we've got to also watch out for everybody and try and keep everybody safe.
Right, and I think that's our challenge here is many people, when they see the meteorologist coming, immediately think we're there to cancel something, and that's just not true. We have a lot of things that go on our own campus that are occurring despite weather in the vicinity because we have a good handle on where the weather is. And so in the past, where people were sort of making their own judgments, sometimes they were being more conservative than they had to be. And so we're seeing now we're able to have events now that maybe we didn't have before. So we don't want to be the office of no. We want to be the office of yes, but safely.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, I'll go back to heat real quick and just give you the floor here. Anything, you know, a lot of band camps. We're already a week and a half in here at our house, and a lot of football camps. What's your advice on heat for people out there? Sports, band, you name it.
I think that you want to always have a trainer or somebody who specializes in heat illness remediation, know the signs of heat illness, because it is very important that even if you have a heat situation, that knowing how to cool someone's body temperature quickly can be a lifesaver. And so it's not just about the meteorology monitoring, it's about knowing what to do if somebody does get stricken. So I would highly recommend, you know, high schools, youth sports associations, colleges, of course, have trainers, but so do the high schools. And to maybe have the football folks and the band folks working a little more closely so that they can share resources with practices and such.
All right. Well, anything else that I didn't touch on that you want to get out there on the floor here?
Oh, I think that's awesome so far. So again, use wet bulb globe, not heat index. Heat index really is meaningless because it doesn't take into account all of the things that can impact your body with respect to heat. Wet bulb globe temperature is a much better metric.
All right. Well, it has been a pleasure talking to you here, sharing your expertise with the audience, and I appreciate that, and appreciate your friendship and our enthusiasm for, you know, the marching arts. It's a lot of fun, and the best part is, one thing that people need to know is that the finals of what we are into are indoors. That really helps us. It gives we can put our feet up and be fans for a night. That's great.
Absolutely, absolutely. Makes it a little easier.
All right, Dr. Kevin Kloesel from Oklahoma University, ladies and gentlemen, a fine expert in this field of outdoor safety, and we appreciate you, Kevin.
Thank you, Spencer. Appreciate it.